A few months back, and even now, the one question that brought the corporate world together was, will AI take away our jobs? Now, you might think that it has become an obsolete question, and a lot of stuff has already been doing rounds on the internet. But there has been a comparatively little discussion on how to navigate the changing landscape, which perhaps should have been the real question. So, for us at ET, the story isn't about replacing humans with machines, it is about finding synergy. Hello and welcome back to ET Studios, HRConnect in association with ETHR World. I'm Hemanshi Tewari. Now, to talk about AI in this segment, who better can be the HR leaders themselves? Please join me in welcoming Vijay Kumar Jamwal, Head HR, Biz2X. Vijay, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Same here. Thank you so much for inviting.
All right. Now, in this episode, we'll talk about the whole AI takeover. So, Vijay, there has been a lot about the AI takeover and job losses. So, what are your views on it?
I think it's a very exciting time for the entire fraternity, including the HR, because I think it has kind of thrown a challenge at us in terms of why we should change, how we should change, and what's the importance of this whole change is all about, right? To me, I think it's a very exciting time in the HR because I very strongly believe that technology brings a lot of innovation, technology brings a lot of, it helps us to move faster and become better. So to me, I think, having this whole AI at the helm of knocking our doors and telling us, hey, listen, I'm here, I'm going to make your life better. I want to, invite it and say, hey, this is open arms, come and let's just use it and make this better lives for all of us, right? Including everybody who gets impacted through what we do within the HR fraternity from hire till retire. So to me, it's a very exciting time. And I think I very strongly believe that it's going to be an amazing future for a lot of HR leaders who's going to really get AI imbibed in their systems and the organization. And create a better version of the organizations, basically.
All right, so we are here changing the narrative from the dystopian view of job losses to that of adaptation and collaboration, right? So my next question to you is, how can companies ensure, a seamless integration with AI in their coming years and where the employees are not panicking, right?
Sure. So I think very interesting question you ask, and I think I've been involved in a lot of IT companies that I've worked, and I've seen technology from a very different lens altogether, and now I see from an HR lens, right? And I think to me it's very important that first of all, I think we as an organizations need to really understand what do we really need, what's the problem that we really want to solve it, right? And why do we want to solve it? And what's the business impact of this is all about, right? How is this impacting our businesses right now, right? So that's the first part of right now. Second, identifying right tools. Because there are so much in the AI happening, let's get everything. Doesn't solve the problem, right? I think the most important challenge is identifying right tools for you, which is going to really solve your biggest problem that you're really looking for right now. That's the second part. The third part is, I think, getting people who would be part of that whole change, asking them what's the challenge they've got, right? And involving them into this whole change is very important, right? And then I think, getting people to train, educating them, making the whole awareness happen, right? And then ensuring that the whole implementation happens step by step rather than forcing people to fit it. And then you also have this feedback loop, which is continuously coming and saying that, hey, listen, what's working, what's not working? Let's look at that also, right? And see how we can make this better. And last but not the least, but look, everything has a positive side and a side which is not so great. I think while AI is awesome, it also has challenges around ethical practices and biasnesses, right? So I think we as an organization have to have mechanisms which helps us to put checks to identify, hey, what's the biasness it's creating? So let's go back and work on that. So I think those are a couple of important things that I would say that are important for organization to look at. How do we adopt it rather than creating a panic within the organization?
All right, so I'll come back to the ethical issues with AI in a while. But right now I wanted to know from you, how can companies kind of use AI in a better way rather than replacing human capabilities?
Right. So I think again, to me, it is going to make the life of the HR leaders and HR teams far more effective and hugely impactful, and the reach with which the HR team would be able to function would be amazing, right? So how do we, in the current scenarios, if you look at it from hire to retire, there's a lot of stuff that has happened manually, right? So a lot of tasks which are repetitive, operational is going to go away, right? So that's the first part. There's a lot of data-driven approach that's going to happen for a lot of people right now. So, from intelligence that has been driven from employees who are within the organization, who are coming into the organization, who are exiting your employees, and how do you manage and engage a set of employees would become very important for you with that particular data set. The whole recruiting process is becoming very exciting. From the time that you really identify people, how do you identify right set of people, what skills do you need in, right? The whole process of recruiting is becoming so easy and faster that the recruiter's role is changing from just shortlisting resumes to identifying from various portals to becoming very rich conversation that he will do where the AI can't play a pivotal role, which is more about the touch that a human can bring in rather than the technology right now. And the last but not the least, but for example, learning. Learning has a huge sphere right now. Organizations are trying to move to the next part. So which would mean that the learning, the AI is helping in predicting what kind of learning do you need to become to the next level.
Giving more personalized touch.
Absolutely, very personalized touch is creating personal journeys for me and helping me to look at what do I need to do if this is the skill that I want to go in. So I think it's a very exciting time, again, I'm saying, which is really helping us to create a better version of each of the individuals within the HR organization, and also helping us to become more efficient and being able to move to the next level.
Basically, AI is an enabler for us, right?
Hugely.
Rather than replacing humans. So it's safe to say that we are not losing our jobs anytime soon.
Not at all, not at all. I think we shouldn't be worrying. I think we should look at how do we upgrade ourselves, how do we imbibe this with open arms and say, hey, this is going to stay, this is the reality. So we can't deny this reality for sure.
All right, you were also talking about the whole recruitment process that has changed, with the advent of AI. So can we get into the nitty-gritties on how it has changed and how companies are actually using AI for better recruitment strategies, but also without hampering their human touch?
I think one of the interesting places that I'm seeing a lot of innovation is recruiting, because that's the most important places where a huge business impact happen, right? And there's a lot of loss the organization have in terms of in the whole process timeline it takes, having the right candidate and being able to kind of really hire the person in terms of cost effectiveness also, right? So some of the tools that are currently available, right, are the tools that are helping in a couple of places, which is very fast. One is the whole process, right, in terms of shortlisting the resumes, right, or identifying right set of people, right, from a JD, right, or curating kind of a JD for the recruiters, right, has become very easy, and it helps recruiters to kind of move away from a lot of time they used to spend in these operational tasks to having a very effective conversation that's far more important for them to identify the right skill sets and the behaviors that are important, or do a right level of assessment right now. So that's the first part. There's also a generative AI which is getting into this right now. For example, generative AI is helping you to identify or create JDs, right, with a couple of skill sets that you need, and helping the recruiters to quickly move on, creating JDs, right? It's also helping recruiters, in fact, to create assessment tests which are important, which could be generated as a click of button, and helps them to kind of roll out those question papers to the prospective candidates and faster. The other most important is reaching the candidates, for example. So there's a lot of bot calls right now. So I can do an evaluation just by a bot call to like 100 people at one go and get all the data in an Excel sheet, which a recruiter will typically take 2 hours or 3 hours or 5 hours in calling so many people. So imagine the power of AI tools, right, which are helping to really shape up the whole recruiting is huge right now.
Yeah, it's huge. But do you think that we are losing that human touch? Because human resource is essentially about human, like human is a foundational element for the HR. So are we losing the human touch in our journey towards AI?
I don't think, right? Because let's take this example of recruiting, right? What does a recruiter used to do? He used to identify people, the sources from various sources. He will then call up people. he will understand the basics, then he will move through the entire recruiting process, various stages of recruitment, and then finally there's a conversation which helps to understand whether he's the right fit for you or not, right? Now, what is AI doing? AI is giving you more time and more power to do that meatier conversation, which is important for you to understand, hey, do I fit in the culture? Do I have those soft skills? Because a lot of my tech skills has been evaluated through the process, through the whole. So I think that's the first part. There are a lot of assessment tests also which are very important done, but who does the analysis? Human does the analysis. He infers what is the report that has been generated. So there is still, in fact, the human intervention right now is required far more deeper, which was very superficial earlier, and hence it's going to me, it's going to be far more important role that the HR has to play, or the TA has to play. Hence, I don't think the role will become either redundant or it'll move away, basically, right? It's just that I think a lot of people would be forced to get better,
And even the HR leaders need to upgrade their skills, right? To use AI.
Absolutely. Like I have been trying to learn on what's the new generative AI, what are the kind of data that we need to input to be able to get the right kind of, let's say models that we really wanted within our organizations right now. So you're so true. I think all of us have to adopt, learn, and then kind of figure out what is the solution that we want to solve the problem that we have with us right now.
All right, then what kind of skill sets do you think we need to learn now in order to survive in the era of AI?
Look, I think the most important thing is, I think, ability to adopt and learn technology, right? So able to have that bend of mindset of being able to understand the technology and not find it complicated, because it's very easy right now, correct? Right? My grandmother can use a mobile phone and kind of do wonders with it, right? Easy adoption, right? The kids can do wonders, right? So I think that's the first part. We have to learn the technology, we have to adopt it, right? So that whole mindset of being able to learn continuously is going to be very important. Second is ability to understand data, right? While the AI will throw data and the analysis, but the humans have to interfere in the right and have a correlation in terms of what is it solving for me? How is it solving the problem that I've asked this whole AI model to solve it? It's who? Human has to solve it. So the whole data interpretation, data analysis has to be very intrigued, and somebody has to really solve that problem for the people, right? The third is, I think, the whole, I would say, ability for humans to be able to have a greater communication skills, right? It's still going to be important, while we use technology, but how do we communicate with the relevant stakeholders, right? How do we help people to understand what is the impact of what the AI is doing is going to be very important. And I think last but not the least, I think the whole softer part, which is empathy, right? How do I look at people? How do I still have a touch, right? I call it heart in the HR, right? There has to be heart in the HR, which is still going to be there, right? And people would look at that in any ways. You have a chatbot coming to you talking, but I would still need, hey, Hemanshi, this is Vijay. Can I have 2 minutes of a conversation with you, rather than just a chatbot conversation, right? It'll solve your so many problems, but that connection of a human would still be required, and I think that will become much deeper, as I'm saying, with a lot of emotional intelligence that is still required with the people. So those are skills which would be required to get better, or would still be required by the people, even though the AI take over. And I think the last but not the least, I think ability for humans to look at biasnesses is much better than, but because what we are adding in an AI model is data.
It's data, and
right?
data is data is biased.
Data can be biased because what data I want, that's the inference the machine or the LLM model is going to give it to me, right? So end of the day, I have to be very looking at how do I diversify that, right? And so it's my human mind that's going to help create that model. So I have to be very wary of what I'm creating right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point you made. So how can HR leaders kind of ensure fairness and equity when it comes to AI-driven decision making?
A great question. Look, we humans are also biased, right? Like, we are also, as humans, is biased. So machines, if we are biased, I will send data which is biased in a way. So what's the best way to create diversity? So what the data that, for example, I want within the organization, it has to be diversified data. So that's the first part. The second part, there has to be enough of checks and mechanisms to look at those inferences that we're getting from those models or the reports, right? So that we're able to check, hey, there's always this litmus test, right? Which will tell us, hey, this is going in the wrong direction, so we need to do something there right now, right? And organizations have also started doing a lot of stuff like audits, for example, right? Which are helping them to look at the fact that, hey, whatever decisions are we making, did we do the right things or not right now? So I think those are few things organizations can do to ensure that there's not huge biasnesses and we're able to still manage this whole issue in a better way.
All right, but when AI came, there was a lot of panicking within the employees, right? A lot of them thought that their roles are going to be redundant, but now it has come to the point that you need to enhance your skill sets and you will survive the job market, right? So how can HR leaders such as yourself can, bring in that effective communication to your employees that AI is not going to take away your jobs and this is how you have to use AI to be better at your work?
Got it. So I think very pertinent question, Hemanshi. Given the fact that with anything new coming in, with anything change coming in, there's always a fear that, hey, this change is going to hit me and how will I survive this change? It's going to impact my job, right? So I think first of all, you have to really understand, you have to educate people on what this change is all about. Help them understand the positive side of the story, right? And tell them how will this impact in a positive way your roles, right? That's the first part. Second is you have to also tell them and help them in this journey of what are the gaps that's going to happen because of what we're going to implement or what this change is going to enable. So what is that gap? Help me identify that. Second, then fill this gap with proper trainings, right? Educations, right? It could be in various ways. You could have we use 3 E's of, you have exposure, experience, education, whatever way you want to fill that particular gap. And then end of the day, ensure that he has a very charted path, which is helping him to see where he will land up by doing this change. So I think it's all about communicating. It's all about ensuring that you get people with you in this particular change and help them sail through this particular change together rather than pushing people through this change. But one thing is for sure, I think we also as human has to accept the fact that change is constant. It's inevitable. Right? If I have to create a better version of myself, I have to change.
You need to adapt to the changing times,
absolutely
right?
Yeah, and in life also situations we need to
that's
change,
true.
right? So that's how organizations with any technology or anything new coming in, it will have this thought, but I think an organization leaders have to come in the front and work with those people and create that safe environment to be able to help them sail
and
through
collaboration is indeed important to kind of script the next chapter, right? For your
Absolutely.
companies, because times are changing so rapidly.
Yes,
and post COVID, like we couldn't have imagined that we would be working from home
Absolutely,
and
right.
everything
Or
changed
wherever,
within
wherever.
right? You were talking about employees and how to kind of have that effective communication and address all the issues they've been facing. But what common misconceptions have you heard from your employees about AI in HR and how can we kind of address them?
So I think one is obviously you did mention about it's going to take my job, right? It's going to make me redundant, right? There are a lot of biasnesses in AI, right? How would somebody address it right now, right? Am I choosing the right set of tools which are there, right? Because there are a lot of tools available which are, everybody's saying they're using AI, but how does, they fear that we select a wrong tool, which is going to invest their time, it's going to waste their time, and they're not going to result and solve the problem for which you really are taking those tools right now, right? So I think those are a couple of challenges that people typically see when they look at, hey, that's my inhibition, right? And the last but not the least, but I think it's also that what is it in for me, right? How do I, is there something in for me, or it's just that organization want it to be there and there's no benefit to me in terms of what I really want out of this particular change that is there for us right now.
All right, just one last question on this topic, Vijay. When we talk about Gen Zs or millennials for that matter, they are really adaptive to new technologies. But the boomers, beyond millennials, right? for them,
Yeah.
it is something really very new,
Different.
and a panic situation is
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
I've seen most of the employees who
Yeah.
are above like 45 or 40.
Yeah.
For them, it's a pain.
It's a pain. It's a pain.
Right?
Certainly.
So
Certainly.
how can HR leaders kind of help those employees,
Got it.
like middle
Sure.
aged employees, to
Right.
kind of adapt to the AI and not
Got it.
panic in such situations?
Got it. So you're so true, right? I think, we've seen, in the various ways, right? The change, a lot of young people adapt to the change very well, right? And as you age in, the change becomes difficult for you because you've created your own set of mindset that, hey, this is the way that I
You're
want to work
working
in.
like this
Absolutely.
for years
For
now.
years right now. And it's difficult for you to kind of adopt and do that, right? But I think it's all about providing a safe environment and getting them into that change rather than putting the change on them.
Yeah, that's
Right?
so true.
That's very important. And, and showing them what this, like they're going to visualize this, once, I close my eyes, this change will help me to become here or, get this skill or become better in my job, right? And I think when you showcase and create those champions, create those situations, right? I think people do look at it because, as I said, like, what is it in for me? How am I benefiting? Everybody wants to become better, right? If you tell them, hey, do you want to become a better version of yourself? Of course, why not? How do I become? That's a question, right?
Yeah.
So here I've got a trick for you, like, come do this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's going to be stepwise. You're going to have a slow and, obviously help them, build that environment, trust. And that way, I'm pretty sure a lot of people do changes. That's
You
I've
don't
seen
have to
it.
give all the literature to them
Oh,
at
yeah.
once.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't
Right?
force them. Yeah, for sure.
All right, then one question, Vijay, I really wanted to ask that how do you suggest HR professionals should keep up with this rapid change? Like those 1-2 things that you might do to kind of keep yourself with this rapid technological advancements.
Right. So I think one is keep yourself aware about what's going on, right? Keep yourself educated. Let your teams explore new options, right? What are the tools that are available? Have conversations with people, right? What are the problems that you've got? Go back and have a conversation with them. So that's the first part, which is very important. Be aware, be educated, because there's a lot of stuff happening in the market right now where everybody's trying to solve a problem in some form or the other. So that's the first one. Second one is, I think you have to be very sure of what is those problems that are very important to you as an organization.
You have to set your
has,
priority.
Yeah, that has an impact to the business that you are in. In a manufacturing, there could be a different set of a problem versus a tech company or a media or a pharma, right?
Yeah.
But the solution of an AI or any digital solution that you're deploying may be very different. So you don't need to copy what A and B and C is doing. So you have to really identify the right solution. Second, have a minimalistic approach to start with, right? Never, get on to like 5 solutions together and then they're not talking to each other, they're not working, right? So look at 1 or 2 and see the impact of it right now. It's like create your own model in the AI world right now and see how is it working right now for you.
Personal, which is personalized for your company.
Absolutely right. And the third is also look at your employee and see what do they want. Right? You as an HR must be trying to do something, but is it solving the problem of the people that are there or not? If not, then it's important, right? So have people's, do some pulse check, identify, what do they really want basically, right? And then go slow with your initial change, right? Create a, good project, identify who are going to be the people who are going to be working, create a cross business unit team that will help to, take this forward, right? Have regular communications, talk about it in your town halls, let them have the leaders talk in various forums about it, right? So that everybody is talking that and there's a larger communication, there's an open culture of talk around, hey, what are we doing right now? I think that in a way, this whole change becomes much better, easier, and people do adapt to this in a far more better manner to become, hey, say, listen, I am also part of this, rather than saying that, hey, this is coming only to me right now, right? So you become a part of the solution then.
All right. So communicate, educate, and adapt.
Absolutely right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
On that note, Vijay, if you could hire any AI assistant, then what would be its primary function?
Well, you know what? I've been exploring a lot of this whole. I think I would love to have a AI co-pilot that can help me just quickly solve the challenges of identifying a real talent outside, right? Solve the entire problem of whole hiring. That's the biggest one right now for me. Take away that. also have somebody who can engage people very deep rooted, right, on a daily basis, and see how they are feeling every day when they come into the office, and what is something that's working with them, what's not working with them, and give me a daily pulse check, where I can see, hey, this is my dashboard of, here is my business unit wise, and I see red, amber, green, and here I then deploy some of my HR business partners. I say, listen, can you go to this red zone and just have some solutions deployed?
Yeah.
Right. So I would love to have that kind of dashboarding, which is kind of giving me everyday pulse of the organization. Like, when you go to an ICU, you have those various things.
That's true. That's
in
true. A
front
full
of you,
map of your
full map of your
organization, and this is a red zone, this is a green zone.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Where do I need
Really
to jump in right now? So that's what I would love to have somewhere. If people are listening me, I would love to have people
So
creating
manifesting
that.
this map zone
Absolutely.
kind of situation for
In
your
my mind.
company. Now, Vijay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you so much for having this conversation
Thank you so
with
much.
us.
Yeah.
It has really been enriching, and we have got some great perspectives from you.
Same here.
To our viewers, stay tuned for more such videos only on ET Studios, HR Connect in association with ET HR World.